Hey guys, RCT3 Crashes 100 here, and we are going to be taking a quick look at Windows NT 4.0 Home, or Workstation. Now, what is Windows NT 4.0 Workstation? Now, from the early 1990s up to the present day, Microsoft have been working on the NTFS file architecture. Now, Windows NT 4 was the third system in the line, after Windows 3.1 NT and Windows 3.1.5 NT. Now, Windows NT 4, I believe, is the only version that runs on VirtualBox because the previous ones have very low system requirements that actually can't be emulated. I'm pretty sure of that. Now, you might remember a previous video I did on whether Windows 2000, Windows XP and Windows NT 4 could run YouTube. Now, as you saw, Windows NT 4 cannot do so. This is because NT 4 was basically put into an end of life long before 2000 and XP were, meaning that many applications do not work on NT 4. Even back in the day, many applications didn't work on NT 4 simply because of so many incompatibilities between the then infantile NTFS system and the other long-standing 9X/DOS system. Now, the latest version of Windows, or Firefox, that runs on Windows NT 4 is Firefox 2. Now, as you can see, for things such as Google, it works fine. Okay, so here's a desktop background which is rather colour intensive, and as you can see, due to running on the NTFS architecture, it is able to display colours in a very rich fashion. In addition, any screensavers you can think of should work on Windows NT. As seen here, the Beziers works fine. Now, as you can see, the file browser, Windows Explorer, is identical to the one used in Windows 95. This is because Windows NT 4.0 Workstation and Server are both based off of Windows 95, for the purpose of basically making it an easier operating system for businesses to adopt. To further this experiment that I'm now doing, I've brought in two programs which formed the backbone of my childhood, being Splurge, a program, a desktop toy brought about by Cadbury. If you've ever played Desktop Destroyer, you'll know what I mean, and BonziBuddy. Splurge does not work because of the missing win-in-net.dll, and BonziBuddy doesn't work because it's missing cabinet.dll. So as you can see, many applications, even simple ones such as BonziBuddy and Splurge, don't work on Windows NT 4. I will put up a download link for Splurge, and I will probably show it off in another one of my virtual machine videos in the future. What you have probably noticed by now is that there is no volume icon. Now, this is because volume, for some reason when I installed this, it didn't accept the virtual sound card. So I am just going to fix this. Addendum: I have gotten to the bottom of the reason why installing guest editions doesn't bring sound. This is because the version of guest editions for NT 4 is inherently flawed. Sure, it adds all of the drivers and everything, but it does not install a working sound driver. On to the next part of the video. Good old Windows NT, always using the old hint system. It's a shame that they don't really show this sort of thing on newer operating systems. So, now with the drivers installed, we are just going to do a quick restart. We are almost there. Another thing, if you look at the startup sequence, it's nowhere near as flashy as any of the other systems. Unfortunately, it's all just a blue screen. Now let's log in. Now, interestingly, like the other versions of Windows 9X, you could add a password, however, it's compulsory in Windows NT 4.0. And it actually works. You can't just skip your password like you could in 95 and 98. And if that isn't proof that sound works, I don't know what is. So then, let's take a look around at some of the features on our desktop, since we haven't done that yet. Now, Inbox is basically a incredibly stripped down version of Outlook Express. I think I know what I'm doing. Okay, I guess. Right. Yeah. So as you can see, even by Outlook Express standards, it is an incredibly primitive piece of software, and it doesn't seem to be accepting in any of my settings, which I think is for the best. But we can always look around. I guess it would do the job. Look at all of these retro icons it's got. As with Windows 95, Windows NT 4.0 brought in the Windows Briefcase. Now, although I'm not going to use this, Windows Briefcase basically allowed you to take your files around with you and sync them between computers, meaning that the changes would stay the same between both. It's basically an extremely primitive ancestor of what you might call the cloud. Now, isn't this a beauty? This here is Windows Internet Explorer, Microsoft Internet Explorer, version 3.0, I believe. Yeah, oh sorry, one version too high. Version 2.0. The highest version you can have on Windows NT 4 is IE5, I believe. Note the strange use of plus in the address bar, hinting that this includes architecture from Microsoft Windows 95's Plus pack. To show you how inept and out of date Windows Internet Explorer version 2.0 is, you're in for a bit of a treat. Let's see how it handles Google. There we go. Simply put, it doesn't. You can't even get to YouTube on this version of Internet Explorer. It just kicks you back out into this horribly mutilated version of Google. Let's try searching something. Okay, you do appear to get somewhere when you actually search. Let's try and get into images. Hey, there we go. We're actually not doing so badly now. Let's just try and pick some sort of image. This one looks good. And instead you just get garbage and pages of information. Let's try clicking full-size image. It's thinking about it. Back in the day, Windows and Microsoft really had a thing for clouds. It's trying to do it. Not sure if it's going to work with Amazon AWS. Oh, that's never good. What's happened? There we go, I just wanted to do that. Seems that that's the default right-click sound when you can't right-click. Drink it in, people. So, with Internet Explorer obviously struggling to open this image of Godzilla, we're going to try it on a more capable web browser. Now, none of the other versions of Firefox work except Firefox 2, so let's try giving it a go. As you can see, it immediately has the correct layout. And it's going to keep throwing this up unless we can actually get to the image. Let's click full-size image. And as you can see, it loads it up pretty fine. Although it does take a bit, I've given this virtual machine 1 GB of RAM, and it's actually surprisingly fast for such an old system. It's 21 years old almost. It was released in 1994 alongside Windows 95. So it's quite remarkable how old this system is, and yet if you give it the right software, it can still do some basic tasks. For those of you with Windows Vista and Windows 7, you're probably used to having a few gadgets on the side of your screen. This was something which isn't exactly new. I appear to have found something which doesn't actually appear to tell me what to do with it, the Object Packager. I believe it has something to do with coding basic programs, or so I think. If anyone can tell me what it actually does, please put a comment in the description. Yep, if you haven't noticed, basically all of your basic programs are going to work. A bit of satire here, it might not be based on what you consider it to be, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys all really don't like these sort of tutorials. Don't worry, I'll put a link in the description as to where you can download this operating system. I'm pretty sure that if you had this installed... I apologise, I just had to get something done. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Now, if you would have this installed at your workplace, you're obviously going to want a program that will enable you to do all of your word processing and your databases. Now, for that would obviously be the all-time favourite Microsoft Office, which I don't have an install disk of, for reasons you'll see why. The latest version of Office, which runs on NT4, is Office XP. Addendum. This wasn't released with Windows 95. It's actually about my age, believe it or not. I'm turning 19, and this was released in 1996, the year of my birth. So, I think we've just about covered everything when it comes to Windows NT 4.0 Workstation. Now, I think we have basically dealt with everything there is. So, from what we have learned, Windows NT 4 was the first attempt by Microsoft, or one of the attempts of many by Microsoft, to bring about an increase in the number of people using Windows NT in the workplace, and by extension in possibly a few home environments. Now, was this successful? Maybe not, because of the incompatibilities many applications had. However, Windows NT 4 was quickly followed by Windows 2000, which, again, another NT system, and with the introduction of Windows XP in 2001, finally Microsoft began to put NT to a use that would basically unify it in both the home and work environments. So, with that all said and done, I'm RCT3 Crashes 100, over and out.